Hi again, friends. I'm Todd Aaron Smith. I was thinking about how nice it is to get away from town now and then, away from the traffic and noise and technology. I like to visit places with lots of trees and fields where I can go for a walk and appreciate the quietness of nature. I cannot always do that, but what I can do is to make a sketch of a place where I would like to walk. Let your imagination go and draw any place you would like to be, whether it is a real place or not. There is no limit to what you can do because you are an artist. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so I'm thinking about where my horizon line is, but in this drawing, the horizon line is not going to be that important because you won't really be able to see it. As you can see here, what I'm doing is going across and making my lines go up as I go across, which means there's going to be some hills that I'm drawing in this sketch. What I'm doing very quickly right now is making a path that goes off in the distance. And this path could be railroad tracks, it could be a river, it could be a road, whatever I want it to be. But I'm making it be an old country path. Next to it here, I want to make a fence. This fence is going to be broken, which I'll show you as we go here. And I'm just kind of making this up, but I'm thinking about making a broken fence, but I'm drawing extremely lightly, very, very light touch with my pencil as we go through this. Here I think I want to do the parts of the fence coming off towards us. In the picture, these are going to be right up close to us. And so eventually I'm going to have a lot of detail on this fence, on the close-up parts anyway. As it goes back in the distance, there will be lots of less detail than there is on the parts that are up here towards us. And let's see. These go off in the distance, so I'm trying to make all of my lines kind of point towards a horizon line. Now the fence is broken, and so the posts on the fence are not straight, which actually helps me with this drawing. If you're not very good at drawing straight lines, and I'm not very good at drawing straight lines, then this is the kind of thing that is very helpful to you. I think let's go up here, up on the top of this little hill, and just make some scribbles. These are eventually going to be trees. And this is going to be grass down here, high grass and weeds. But continuing with the posts here, let's make this fence go off in the distance. And I'm just making the posts that go across. And I'm not worried about making them straight or even, just scribbling and making some quick stuff here. I think that about right here, I'm going to make a tree that's a bit bigger. One nice thing about trees is that you don't have to worry about drawing them and rendering them in any exact way. Trees, no two trees look alike. They're all very different. And so, if you draw something that's anywhere close to looking like a tree, it's going to look just right. And nobody can tell you that that doesn't look like a tree because there's so many different kinds of trees. As we go across the horizon line in the background, or these hills, whatever it is, I'm just kind of scribbling and making some indications of where I want trees to be. I think about right here would be a good place to put a little house, maybe in the background. I don't know if it's a house or a barn or what that is. Let's call it a house. That'll be an old country house that's off in the distance. But going across the hill in the background, let's just scribble in some indications of trees. And as we go, I will make those much more clear, much easier to see. The house, again, is mostly made of straight lines. And since I'm not very good at drawing straight lines, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to do the best I can do, and it's going to look fine. It's way back in the background anyway, and you don't have to get out your ruler and make all these really nice straight lines, unless you want to. If you want to do that, that's fine. But I don't do that. I just like to keep my hand moving and keep on drawing and scribbling and just have fun with it. That's what you should be doing with this, is just have fun. As I sketch this, I'm using my Mephisto pencil. And the Mephisto is made by Koh-I-Noor. It comes in two different leads. There's a 0.7 and a 0.5. I'm using the 0.5 right now. I use it all the time, but either one of them is good. You can use either. And there isn't another pencil like this one in the world. You know, I think I've used, over the years, I've used every pencil, every art supply known to mankind. And I think this one is just far superior. The others that I've used have a variety of qualities that I don't want. Some of them feel like they're just as light as a feather, and I get this idea as I'm using it that I could break it just by squeezing it. Other pencils that I've used feel like they're made out of soft plastic, and I get this idea that I'm drawing with a toy pencil. And others have lead that, as it comes out of the bottom of the pencil, it wiggles and moves, and it's not in there very well. And it just gives you a sense of not having a lot of control over what you're doing. And I don't like that kind of stuff in pencils, but the Mephisto is not that way at all. It's a very good pencil, very solid. It feels good in my hand. It feels right, and I don't know how to describe saying it feels right, but it just feels right. I feel like I can draw exactly what I'm trying to draw with this thing. And as you will be seeing here, I can draw with it in a super light way and make light lines so that I can kind of map out where I want everything else to be. Or I can make very bold lines. I'm making them a bit bolder right now and pushing just a little bit more on my pencil to make things darker. And as I come up closer to the foreground, I'm going to make things darker and darker, and I'll keep going over that and refining it as we go here. But as it is right now, I'm just kind of being scribbly and sketching and making things however I feel like they ought to be. It'll be a path that has been walked on or driven on many times, and so there's going to be kind of a line of grass or weeds that go right up through the middle of it, and then the high grass and high weeds on each side of it. A lot of the ground in this sketch really should be nothing more than a texture, which I will tell you about a little bit more as we go, but I really don't want to draw a zillion individual blades of grass and weeds, but I can make it look like a bunch of them by just filling in some of this scribbly texture. That, by the way, is also how I handle drawing hair. If I'm drawing a person with hair or an animal that has hair, I draw it as a texture or a shape, not individual tiny hairs. A lot of people, when they're drawing an animal or a person that has hair, will draw all these millions of little strands of hair, and it just doesn't look right. It looks like they have spaghetti on them or something. It just doesn't look right at all. So hair should be handled in the same way that I'm doing the grass and the weeds here and trees in the background, all that stuff. It should just be a texture or a shape. There's all kinds of things that should be done that way. Part of the fun of sketching, I think, is being loose and free with it. And just scribble. Isn't scribbling fun? I think scribbling is big fun. Especially if there's some kind of a purpose to it. If I kind of have a goal of making something look good out of it, scribbling is a lot of fun. And you should do it without really being too concerned about what it's going to turn out like in the end. Just have fun doing it and it'll be just fine. And, I've said this many times before and I'll say it many times again, I'm sure. You can always put your drawing away and come back to it later. And when you do that, you'll see things that you didn't notice before. And you can either get back into that drawing and make some adjustments to it or add things to it, or not. It's up to you, completely up to you. This is your drawing. This is your time, and you can make it however you feel like you ought to make it. You may have noticed that my hand hasn't stopped moving hardly at all. I just continue going and sketching, and I'm not sitting there and looking at a picture and looking back and forth and trying to make these little marks on the page to make it look like that. I'm just scribbling away and going fast, and that's the way that you should do it too. Have fun. This is all about having fun. And it's all about textures and not rendering out a bunch of stuff. Look at this. This is just scribbles up here in the background. Those are going to be trees, but they're so far in the background that I don't want to draw a bunch of trees. I just make my scribbly marks, and it's going to be kind of the illusion of trees back there. I'm going to give the feeling that there are trees, and I'll keep working these, and you'll see what it looks like when it's done, when we get further into this drawing. But for now, I'm just kind of finding where I think things ought to be, and I don't want to put in a lot of detail in this. I'm just having fun, just sketching and just having all kinds of fun. I think the hill should go down this way, have some of this brush and bushes and high weeds and little trees, all kinds of junk on it. Just have fun. You can add anything to your drawing here that you want. I've got trees and a fence and a path and a little house back there, but you can add whatever you want and just go crazy with it and have fun and make it your own. You know, I can easily imagine drawing a lake here somewhere in this picture, or maybe a stream that has a waterfall on it, or a couple of waterfalls even. Maybe this drawing should have some animals on it, like cows or horses or whatever. Just have some fun. It doesn't even have to be, doesn't even have to reflect reality. It could be something far out. You know, I had a friend one time, I'll tell you what I'm thinking about here. I had a friend one time that said to me, hey, you know what you should do? You should draw a crashed spaceship up there in the hills and make it look like a spaceship has gone across the field and crashed through that fence and stopped up in the hills. And you certainly could do that. The fence is broken, and you could make a spaceship that has crashed into the side of the hill there. And maybe, you know what, maybe you even draw aliens and they get out of this spaceship and they're over there trying to fix the fence. How would that look? Make any story you like. Well, how about this? Instead of this being a path, an old country path, what if there's railroad tracks there? And you can make up a story. What if a circus has been traveling through the country, and the train, it's a circus traveling by train, and it stopped on the tracks that you've made there, and some of the animals have escaped from the train. And so you have elephants and tigers and lions and whatever else walking around in your field out here. You could do a story like that. Maybe some kids got together and they marked off some places in the field, and they're out there playing football or soccer or baseball or whatever you want, but they're out there playing a game. Maybe you've got some cows and horses, and the cows are playing football. Maybe the kids that were out there playing football left, and they left the ball out in the field. They forgot it, and these cows find the football, and they've been watching the kids play, and they want to play too. They thought that watching the kids play was so fun that they wanted to try it too. Maybe they would have fun just like the kids were having. And so the cows play a football game against the horses, and none of them know any of the rules of the game, and so it's just pure chaos because they all have their own rules, and they're just playing any old way that they feel like it without the rules of the game. And it's just purely chaotic, and it's the cows versus the horses. That's pretty outlandish, and it's really silly. But you know what? This is your world, and you can do it. You can do whatever you want to do, make up stories, no matter how silly and outlandish they are. You can make your drawings show those things and just be creative. You know, Norman Rockwell was a very famous painter, and he was known for his storytelling. What he did was that he showed America the way that it should be. Not necessarily the way America really was, but it was paintings of America the way that he thought it should be. And a lot of people love looking at Norman Rockwell stuff because they feel like that's the way America should be too. He was a great painter, and he told stories through his paintings. And you can do that through your sketches and tell all kinds of stories. Just make up stuff. Here's an idea for how you can do your sketching along the same lines. You can begin with the idea, what if? Like what if this, what if that? What if the sky got dark and you look up and the sky is just completely filled with hot air balloons? Or what if a big spider the size of a school bus suddenly comes walking out of the trees in the background? What if that? What if there was a river going through the middle of the field here, but instead of water, it's a river of root beer? What would that be like? Just make up stories, make up all of your own what if kind of ideas. It's a great way to be creative while you're sketching. As I'm going here, I'm just making more scribbly marks. The field that we have in the middle ground, I'm just putting some texture down on that, making it belong in the rest of the picture, I think by putting down a bit of shade on there. It doesn't add any details to my sketch, but it does make it look more like it belongs there. It makes it look like there's something really there instead of just leaving the paper white. And so I put down just a lighter tone with my pencil. I'm still using the same pencil, you notice. And in the background, I have things much lighter. I started off drawing extremely light with this pencil. But now as I go through, right now I'm doing a mid shade. But up closer, like on this fence, I'm pushing a little harder and making my lines darker. The fence should be darker as it's closer to us. And the lines that go around the outside of the fence should be thicker than the lines that you're using in the background. Here again is the pencil that I'm using. It's by Koh-I-Noor. It's called Mephisto. There are, like I said, there are a couple of different sizes of leads. Here's my other one. This is the 0.7, which I also use all the time. Great pencils. I have a bunch of these pencils, well, several of them anyway, and I have them all over the place. Here's one that's still in the package. So if you see this in the store, it looks just like this in the package, in case you wanted to see what that looks like. But I do have several of these pencils. I carry one with me. This one is called my Woodless Graphite Progresso, also made by Koh-I-Noor. And this one is a very interesting pencil to use. It feels really good in my hand. I use this all the time to finish up drawings. One nice thing about this one is you can lay down a bunch of shade very quickly with this pencil. I'm not even pushing hard. I'm not even quite pushing as hard as I was on the Mephisto when I was making the darker lines around the fence in the foreground. You don't have to push very hard on this pencil at all to make a nice dark line. And there's actually several different shades of these woodless graphites. There's 2B and 4B and 6B. There are several of them. But as we go through here, I'm just using this one to kind of fill in some details. And like I was doing with the Mephisto, I'm just continuing to scribble. I'm not drawing anything out or rendering anything out nicely. I'm just continuing to scribble like I was before. And especially here in the foreground, I want things to be darker. And in the background, I want them to be lighter. But I'm just making nice lines. Another way of looking at sketching is that I'm drawing this because I remember having been to a place like this. I don't have a photo of this or anything else like that, and it may not have looked exactly like this, but this is just kind of how I'm remembering it. I remember being at a place where it was kind of like this. I remember trees and hills in the background and a house, and I remember seeing a broken fence one time, and so I'm just drawing kind of what I remembered. It made me happy to be there. I loved walking down this path. And so I'm kind of recreating it, even though I'm sure it doesn't look exactly like it did when I was there. But that's okay. I can just make up whatever, whatever looks good to me. It doesn't have to look like a real place. It just looks like a place where I would like to be walking down the path. That's all it is. And that's why sketching is great too. You can just do whatever you like doing. Make it look however you feel. It's your world. Sketching should not be a source of frustration. Don't be frustrated when you're sketching. If it doesn't look like you imagine it or the way that you envisioned, that is really okay. You can put it away and sketch some other thing. And like I was saying before, later you can take the same drawing out and take another look at it. And you can either fix it or not fix it. The drawing is totally up to you. This is your drawing, and you can do whatever you want to do with it. It's one of the few things that we have that we can do anything that we want, and I love that about it. It's kind of a way of thinking on paper. It's expressing yourself, and that's another great thing about it. You can keep your drawing completely to yourself if you want, or if it looks really good, you can share it with other people. Drawing can be therapy, very therapeutic. We live in a difficult time. It seems that our country is terribly divided, and people are stressed out, people are frustrated, people are angry. Our world is changing very quickly. The world that we're living in right now is not the same world as it was when I was a kid. So many things have changed, and sketching is a great way to escape all of that and to remind ourselves that we're really okay. We can put our feelings down in our drawings, and maybe if we can sketch what we're feeling, I don't know, maybe we can better understand why we're feeling the way that we do. I studied art therapy in college, and it was absolutely fascinating. Maybe you've seen where children sometimes are struggling with something. A therapist often cannot get that child to talk about their feelings or what is happening in their world. But if the therapist can get them to draw, then many, many, many things can be understood about how that child is feeling. They study then what is being drawn, how it was being drawn, what colors are used, how much pressure was applied to the pencils, all that kind of stuff. And the children's drawings can reveal many things about the person. We draw because we love to draw. Why do we love to draw? Well, maybe it's because we can express ourselves in ways that we cannot express in any other way. Drawing is magic. It's absolutely magic. And for people like me, it's necessary. I don't create art because I get paid to create art. I create art because I'm an artist. And I hope you see it that way too. Okay, so notice again that things are closer in the picture. The things that are closer to us are darker and more detailed and much more well-defined than those things that are far in the background. I'm using a lot of perspective in my drawings. I want things to be right up close to us, some things to be very far off in the distance, and some things in the middle ground. And I think that looks really good in a drawing, so I do it that way. This one is getting to be pretty much finished. I could continue on with this and draw many more things, but I think I will call this one finished for now. I may get it back out of my sketchbook again later and take another look at it. And when I do, I will see it in a slightly different way. I may add to it, or I may just leave it as it is and do another sketch. All right, so just finishing up the background trees that I've done back here. I think I want to add a bit more shading. Just scribbly marks, though. I'm not drawing trees, although they're going to give the impression that those are trees in the background. All I'm doing is making some scribbly marks with my pencil. And there's one tree here, I think, that I've rendered out a little bit more than any of the rest. But for the most part, this is nothing more than a bunch of scribbles in the background. And that's the way that you can do it if you want to do it that way. But make it your own. Enjoy this process, have fun, and love what you do. Just do it because you love it. That's why I do it. So we're coming up on the end of it. And just a couple of final touches here, a little bit of grass here and there. And I think we're just about there. This one looks good. And that's how I imagine an old country road. I have never been to this place before, but I have been to many places that I'm reminded of in this sketch. So what do you want to add to this sketch? Maybe you would like a tractor in the background or some cows in the field. Maybe there are some kids riding down the path on their bicycles. Maybe there's a bridge. Whatever you would like to see in your world, sketch it. It's your world and you can create it however you like. You are an artist and you can put anything in your drawing that makes you happy. That is why sketching is so wonderful. See you soon.